Listen to me closely. When the power grid fails in the dead of winter, most people don't freeze because the temperature drops. They freeze because they panic. They freeze because they try to fight physics, and physics always wins. Right now, forget about comfort. Forget about your thermostat. That silent metal box on your wall is useless. We are shifting gears into survival mode. This isn't about buying expensive gadgets or learning fancy bushcraft hacks. This is about understanding the raw, brutal science of heat retention. Here is the cold, hard truth. You cannot heat your entire house without electricity. If you try, you will exhaust your resources, you will waste precious energy, and you might even endanger your family's life. So, what is the secret? It's simple, but it requires discipline. You stop trying to heat the house. Instead, you heat a microenvironment. You heat a smaller space. You trap that heat like it's gold, and you ruthlessly eliminate anything that steals it from you. The very first thing you must do, before you even light a candle or put on a sweater, is to shrink your world. Imagine your home is a sinking ship taking on water. You wouldn't try to pump out the whole ocean. You would seal off the watertight compartments. The cold air is that ocean. Every unused bedroom, every empty hallway, every open living room is a massive heat sink that will suck the warmth right out of you. You need to choose one room. Just one. This will be your thermal fortress for the duration of the blackout. How do you pick the right one? Do not pick the living room just because it has a big TV or a comfy sofa. You need to think tactically. First, size matters. Pick the smallest room that your family can fit into comfortably. A smaller volume of air is much faster to heat with just body warmth. Second, location is key. Choose a room with few or no exterior walls if possible. Exterior walls are in direct contact with the freezing wind. An interior room shares its walls with other buffered rooms, gaining a layer of protection. Third, look at the windows. Windows are basically holes in your insulation. Even double-paned glass is a terrible insulator compared to a wall. Pick the room with the fewest windows. Once you've picked your fortress, close the door. If there's no door, hang heavy blankets from the ceiling to the floor. Seal it off completely. You are now living in this one room. Now, before you think about generating heat, you must stop losing it. Think of your room as a bucket. If that bucket has holes, pouring more water in is a waste of time. You have to plug the holes first. Insulation is your best friend because it works constantly without needing fuel or attention. It fights the cold silently. Go to the windows in your fortress room. Don't just close the blinds. That's not enough. You need mass. Cover them with heavy wool blankets, comforters, or even spare mattresses if you have to. If you have bubble wrap, spray a little water on the glass and stick the bubble wrap to it, as this creates a brilliant pocket of trapped air that acts as an invisible barrier. Then layer the blankets over that. Next, look at the bottom of the door. That tiny gap is a wind tunnel sucking warm air out and pushing cold air in. Roll up a thick towel or a rug to create a draft snake and jam it tight against the crack. Do not leave a single millimeter exposed. This might sound extreme, but if your chosen room has an exterior wall that feels freezing to the touch, hang blankets on that wall too. You are adding layers of clothing to your room. Remember, adding heat to an uninsulated room is like burning money. Insulate first. Generate heat second. Now that your fortress is built, we need to activate the engine. That engine is you. Your body is a biological furnace constantly radiating about 100 watts of thermal energy. Most people waste this resource completely. They pace around the house nervously, dissipating their precious heat into the cold air. You need to stop moving and sit down. If you are with family or pets, huddle together. This isn't just about physical warmth. It is about establishing a shared thermal core that is much harder for the cold to penetrate. Stay low to the ground, but not directly on the floor. While heat rises, the floor acts as a massive heat sink that will suck the energy right out of you. Let's talk about your personal insulation, which is your clothing. Layering is critical, but here's the fatal mistake almost everyone makes. They wear tight layers thinking it traps heat better. It does not. Tight clothing restricts blood flow and blood flow is the mechanism that carries warmth from your core to your freezing extremities. You need loose, baggy layers to trap dead air space between the fabric. That dead air is the actual insulator. And never forget your head and feet. You lose a staggering amount of heat through your scalp and your toes. Wear a warm hat, even indoors, and put on the thickest wool socks you own. Treat your body as the primary heater. The room exists solely to keep the heat you generate from escaping. Now, let's discuss adding a secondary heat source. This is the most dangerous phase of a winter blackout. Panic leads to bad decisions, and bad decisions involving fire lead to tragedy. If you have a fireplace or a wood stove, you are in a strong position, but you must be vigilant. Ensure the flue is open and drawing smoke upward effectively. Never leave it unattended, especially when you are sleeping. A wood stove is excellent because it provides radiant heat, warming the objects and people in the room rather than just the air. If you don't have a wood stove, you might be tempted to use your gas kitchen stove. You must be extremely careful with this. You can use the burners for very short bursts, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, just to break the raw chill of your sealed room. But you must crack a window open in an adjacent room to feed the fire oxygen. If you don't, you risk carbon monoxide poisoning. It is odorless, colorless, and it is the silent killer of winter blackouts. Never, under any circumstances, fall asleep with a gas appliance running. The safest secondary heat hack is actually water. Water has a high thermal mass, meaning it holds heat much longer than air or stone. If you can boil water safely on a camp stove outside or a gas range, fill sturdy water bottles or rubber hot water bags. Place them inside your layers against your core arteries or at the bottom of your sleeping bag. They act like thermal batteries, releasing heat slowly over hours, keeping your vital organs warm while you rest without consuming oxygen or releasing fumes. Night falls, and this is when the battle against the cold becomes critical. When the sun goes down, the temperature plummets, and your body's metabolism naturally slows as you sleep, generating less heat. Your strategy must shift from heating the room to strictly trapping heat around your body. You do not need a warm room to sleep safely, you need a warm microclimate. Do not sleep directly on the floor, even if it is carpeted. The ground is a massive thermal sink that will conduct heat away from you all night long. Sleep on a mattress, a stack of sofa cushions, or even a pile of blankets to create a thermal break. Then, build your bed like a sandwich. You need insulation underneath you just as much as you need it on top. Start with a wool blanket or a sleeping bag under your body, then add your heavy quilts over you. If it is extremely cold, do not just lie in the bed, build a tent over it. This is a technique used by survivalists in the Arctic. By draping a sheet or a light blanket over a couple of chairs or a low table around your sleeping area, you create a tiny pocket of air. Your breath and body heat will warm this small space significantly faster than the rest of the room. It might look like a childhood fort, but in a blackout, it is a life-saving thermal chamber. Sleep fully clothed, including your hat and fresh, dry socks. If you have been sweating at all during the day, change your base layer immediately before bed. Damp fabric is a conduit for cold. Now we must talk about what you absolutely should not do. Desperation makes people do dangerous things. Do not, under any circumstances, bring a charcoal grill, a propane patio heater, or a camp stove designed for outdoor use inside your home. They produce massive amounts of carbon monoxide. You will not smell it, you will not see it, and you simply will not wake up. Also, ignore the internet myths about DIY heaters, specifically the clay pot candle heater. You may have seen videos claiming a tea light and a flower pot can heat a room. This is physically impossible. A candle produces a fixed amount of energy, and covering it with a pot does not magically multiply that heat. What it does create is a severe fire hazard. If that pot tips over onto your carpet or blankets while you are asleep, the results are catastrophic. Stick to physics, not magic tricks. Finally, control the airflow one last time before you settle in. You have insulated the windows, but you need to hunt for the invisible leaks. Light a candle and slowly move it around the window frames, the baseboards, and electrical outlets. If the flame flickers, you have a leak. Seal it with tape, shove a rag in it, do whatever you have to do. Still air is warm air. Moving air is a thief. Surviving a winter blackout isn't about having the most expensive gear, it is about mindset. It is about slowing down, conserving energy, and understanding that you are the heat source. By shrinking your space, insulating aggressively, and prioritizing safety over comfort, you turn a life-threatening emergency into a manageable inconvenience. Stay warm, stay smart, and stay safe.